Okay, I'm just doing a ride in Plumas here. I'm going to show you my gloves. These are the gloves that I got for this year in the summer of 2024. And we're going to go for a little ride. I had to make a little thing there. Just going through Plumas for a little bit. And then we'll tell you about our next video. Welcome back to the channel. Josh is not with me tonight because he's at work, so I'm doing a solo ride tonight. Coming back to Plumas, and I want to do an intro for our next video. It's not really part of our cross-Canada trip, but it's sort of a miscellaneous video. Over the course of time, we have met a lot of people through social media, be it Facebook or YouTube. I don't really live in that world. Josh lives in that world a little more than I do. I like to meet people physically in person, and that's what this video is all about. We made some really good friends from our YouTube channel, Hector and Janet from the East Coast, and we've been talking with them through YouTube and Facebook and their cross-Canada tour, and they've based their tour off our route. There's a car coming, so I got to get to the shoulder. So you can see that we're in Plumas here. So Hector and Janet were close to Brandon, and Josh had to be in Brandon for an eye treatment on his eyes. So since they were so close to Brandon, some 20 kilometers out, we decided to meet up with them. We met them on the highway, had a great visit, and wished them well on the rest of their cross-Canada tour. So you'll meet them in this video, and you'll also meet just an awesome guy who has an awesome channel, Liam. He actually came out to see us. We were supposed to meet up in Portage Prairie for a bike ride. That did not happen due to our busy schedules before our trip this summer, starting our cross-Canada trip again at the Ontario border. But Liam came out to Brandon and then came up to Plumas, and we got a chance to meet him. We went over his bike and his gear, so you'll see that interview. And then Josh interviews Liam as well about his channel and the trips he's done. Josh and I bike spring, summer, and fall, but Liam takes it to the next level. He bikes all winter long in Manitoba. Yes, in Manitoba. Winnipeg is known as Winterpeg, and he just lives north of there. So he is absolutely crazy biking in the winter in Manitoba. So we'd encourage you to go to his channel and check it out. Some really good content there. And you'll see the interview that Josh does with Liam at the end. So enjoy this video. We're just getting ready to start the next section of our cross-Canada tour. We won't be posting for a while, but when we get back, we'll start posting the next episodes. Stay tuned. Enjoy. Cheers.
Do you want me to say you're on video?
Yeah.
We are coming up to our biggest fans right now. They are on video. So let's meet up. Camera too?
No, you can grab it.
You want me to film? And then.
Well, yeah, you can start filming. Do you want?
Oh, I'm already filming.
Yeah, go outside and start filming them.
Dad, your door is locked. Oh, no, it's not.
It's like seeing the other way around.
It's like seeing family members.
It is. Hector.
Oh, Janet. Hello.
Whoa!
Hey, Josh.
This is awesome. You guys are amazing. You guys are our #1 fans. Yeah,
Jeez.
it's unbelievable. You guys have conquered mountains.
Yes, but there's still so much more to conquer.
Yeah. I don't know what you want to do here. There's not. I thought there would have been a road here, but
I feel bad that you guys have to come all the way out.
well, he had to get his.
Yeah, I have light therapy, and we had to come to Brandon anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, we did a bit of recording, so we got you on video. So maybe we'll put you in an episode. Is that all good?
Oh, it's all good.
We had questions about that last episode.
Oh, which one?
37.
Oh, the one that just posted. No, that would never happen. That would never happen. Wow, that didn't take you long.
You know
You
what?
guys are going pretty good.
The hills are not as bad here as...
Manitoba's the flattest province.
Yeah.
I heard you say that in
Yeah.
one of your videos, and I couldn't remember if you said Saskatchewan or Manitoba.
Yeah.
Well, you got Cypress Hills in Saskatchewan, so
Yeah,
Manitoba's flat.
like when you guys came up, like to Swift Current and the wind there, like that's challenging too. We've done it both ways.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it's challenging in there. Hello, everyone. It's unbelievable to see Janet and Hector here, and it's just been amazing time to see their journey and to meet them on the highway. So God bless and safe travels. So yeah, we're here with Liam. It's amazing that you're here in our hometown, and
Great to be here.
it is weird because we know you just through social media, and now we get to see each other in person. So it's awesome.
Just like that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so welcome.
Okay.
And we're going to do a bit of an interview with Liam here, and he's going to show us his bike, his setup, and yeah, kind of walk us through what you use, the gear you use, and the whole bit.
Well, this is, just the small setup here. I have, pretty much just all the basic stuff. I camp most nights, so pretty much all the time I have, this is the tent from company Woods and whatever I have, because it's summer, this small Walmart sleeping bag. And
So your tent is in your green dry
yeah,
bag?
this is the
Okay.
dry bag, so I have that all
Yep.
in there and whatever. And then
That's the woods, right?
yeah, the Woods. I don't know too many of the technical companies.
Yeah. Is it the
whatever.
two-person?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we got the same one, actually. And we've had it for years, too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it works.
Yeah,
It's great,
yeah.
waterproof. So,
And you've had that for how long? How many seasons?
just pretty much right before I left for my other bigger trip. So just
From BC.
this last one. So March.
Okay.
March.
Okay. So
yeah.
so it's so brand new then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's gone 7,000 kilometers.
And some rains as well.
Lots.
Okay,
Of rain.
so it's
worked great.
good and
It's worked
dry.
Great. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
good to know. We've had a lot of questions on that.
Pretty much always. I don't know, set it up and don't have to worry about being all wet and miserable and stuff
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
That's great. It's been great.
Yeah. But your sleeping bag is on the back. You just keep it there all the time?
Pretty much.
How, does it get wet in the case?
Thankfully, I did not have to
Right.
use it yesterday during the rain, but it's not, in this case it would not.
Right.
So I typically have a dry bag for the sleeping bag and stuff, but
Right.
not this time just because I did not account for that. But I have a rain jacket. If I really wanted to, I could just put the rain jacket
Yeah,
over that and it
sure.
would be fine. So
Yeah.
that's that. Right now I have the panties and stuff which are full of
Right.
food, water, bike repair stuff, and chargers, and just all the small things. Couple
Right.
maps or whatever. So all the basic other things, and then
Right.
in the front one I have the handlebar bag. I just got it off of Amazon.
Oh yeah.
It was I put the little camping stove pots, and a couple like extra Ziploc bags and whatever other small things I need, some fire starters and stuff like that.
Right.
So
And you do most of your cooking like on the road, like at camp?
yeah.
Pretty much.
Typically, sometimes I'll stop at fast food or whatever.
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
nice little
Yep.
treat, but typically lots of peanut butter and jam, lots of
Right.
ramen noodles.
Yeah,
So-
I've noticed that in some of your videos. We do the soup noodles too, and the same thing.
Oh, I know. There's
Yeah.
so many of those.
Yeah. Where do you do most of your like grocery shopping? Like when you do get stuff and supplies?
Mainly just Walmart. If there's a Walmart
Yeah.
or something,
Mhm.
that's what my family goes to most of the time. So
Right. Yeah.
typically that, but whatever is
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
this little one is just in the middle, pretty much just has, I don't know, wallet, couple basic bike fixings, puncture kit, and
Okay. Yeah.
a couple Allen keys and whatever. So
Okay. So what do you carry for tools and then extra bike parts?
I have the little triangle tool that has all the different sizes for the Allen keys and stuff.
Right.
Puncture kit. I probably have 2 or 3 tubes just because I
Yep.
have experienced flat tires and do not want to risk not being able to fix it. So
Right.
I have a couple tubes and
Right.
what else?
You usually ride with an extra tire?
I've done it once, but
Right.
I didn't find it was worth it. 'Cause
Yeah.
the trip before that I had just 3 or 4 flats in a row.
Right.
I was just paranoid. But typically, I mean, these tires are good, so.
Yeah, like I said, we got the same ones now. So
Yeah.
the Marathon Plus, you got the touring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Schwalbe's.
I've had biked maybe 15,000 kilometers on these or something.
Yep.
I've got 2 small ones when I went from Vancouver to Winnipeg, and then 2 other small ones just recently. But that's because there was other issues with the back tire and stuff, and it was just causing a whole bunch of issues. So
Yeah, I mean that sounds
they've
good.
been amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, compared to our 8 flats, it's 2 sounds real
It
good.
makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
It really does. Because before this bike, I was just getting so many.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
It's just a pain to fix. and
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, for sure. And it just slows you down, and
Oh, I know.
yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah. And so, and then your big panniers here, like you say, you put your food in there, and
yeah, these are. I just got them off of Amazon. I've had these ones for 2 years or so.
waterproof.
Yeah, waterproof. Always waterproof. I mean, otherwise they just. You're gonna be riding in rain at some point.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yep.
Waterproof, and they're big and can hold everything. Typically, for my bigger ones, I have panniers on the front too. So that's I mean why I have the front rack and stuff.
Yep.
Here's just small trips.
Right.
I have all the basic little food, water. Typically more than I need, just in case whatever could happen.
Right.
So,
And because of all your decals on your bike, what are you actually riding?
yeah. So it's what is it? I got it secondhand off of Facebook. What is it? It's called Traverse 1.7.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of it before, but it's been worked good.
And
Traveled many thousands of kilometers on this, so
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks in really good shape actually, considering
considering it's been through
across the country, hey?
You just maintain it as much as you can, pretty much, and fix things when they break, and it'll do. Just keep on chugging along.
Yeah. Well, in the seat there, the saddle. I don't know. We were talking about that earlier, and like I said, I've tried the Brooks, and it's a no-go for me, but it's working for you.
Yeah. Well, I don't even remember getting the seat, but the front end of it broke off.
Right.
I've probably just got used to it. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
And you've had that for a while, the saddle?
Yeah, I've had it since I got this bike, pretty much. So I got this bike only last June, probably around to the date.
Okay.
Today, so
It's
only been a year, but it's been through quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks good.
So.
It looks really good. And once you're loaded down up front, it's you got a lot of space, and and you find it really heavy.
Yeah, well, I've carried pretty much everything you need for
Mm-hmm.
months of traveling at a time, so it's gets loaded down, I figure at least 100 pounds, and there's the front panniers and all the
Right.
extra gear, big sleeping bag, and at least 100. I weighed it on a truck scale once. It was 150. Just
With you on it, or with just the
that was
bike?
the gear. Take away me.
Wow.
So that was just that.
Wow. So that's
It-
pretty
it
loaded
can
down.
Carry quite a bit.
Yeah. In a headwind, how is it
It,
when you're loaded down?
it's not the most enjoyable. But
Yeah.
just go with it. There's not much you can do very often.
Right.
So whatever just makes you stronger.
Yeah. And with a tailwind, how do you find the balance of everything too? Is it?
I mean, it took a little bit for me to get used to the balance and stuff at
Yeah.
first, but I mean, after
Yeah.
you've been on it for a little while, just
Yep.
because there's, I mean, so much on all the
Mhm.
sides and stuff, and it
Right.
can be a little bit wobbly.
Yeah. When you have the front panniers on, do you find that balances the whole bike out more?
In terms of the front end and back end, like this, the front end just lifts up.
Yeah.
It's quite easy right now, but it
Yeah.
definitely balances that part of it
Right.
more so.
Right.
By
Yeah.
a lot more. So
Yeah. We've noticed that too since we just put on basically a handlebar bag, and that's been taking some weight off the back, and that really helps. Yeah. We never used to do that. I mean, it was probably very foolish, but you live and learn, and so yeah, looks good. Looks like a good setup, and even just doing a couple day trips, you're not as loaded down now.
Yeah,
So
well, this is the lightest that I've been for months, so this is just flying pretty much.
Right.
It feels like it at least. Can actually move a lot easier when it's all the big loaded front end and stuff. It doesn't take too much effort, but it's a little bit
yeah.
more of a thing. But
Yeah. And so you've had this bike for
for about a year.
about a year now.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I got this one pretty much for the big trip that I was going to do last year.
Okay.
So I figured I would get the slightly higher end thing.
Yep.
So got this, and it's
Yeah.
taken me ever since.
So did you buy it out in BC?
Bought it here in Winnipeg,
Okay.
and then my family, they were driving out to BC, so they
dropped it off?
Took it in the vehicle.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
really good.
yeah.
But you've shipped it in a box now.
Yeah, one time that was quite something.
I bet. I bet.
Never done that before. Tried to figure all that out in Halifax, and I eventually did.
Right.
Put it back together at the entrance of the Toronto airport.
Right. So I think the
So-
pedals have to come off, and
Yeah, pedals. Well, I took off the pedals, both wheels. Took off
Oh, really?
some of the back gears and stuff, and
Oh, wow.
I took off a decent bit. Took off the rack and
Yep.
fender. So
Did all that hardware go in the box too?
yeah, all in the
Okay.
It was
But it had to all come apart.
Yeah, it all came apart.
Wow.
Put it back together, and that was
I think you have to turn the handlebars perpendicular too, right?
that
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
lots of adjusting and putting it all back together. So
I would assume that they dinged you for the non-refundable box too.
yeah, well, thankfully the person in Halifax had a box there.
Oh, really?
So that was quite nice.
Okay.
That was very nice.
So
I was able to-
they gave it to you?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was fantastic.
You're very blessed.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Because I think at one time, Josh, I don't know, it was on the train. It was like over $100 or something like that. Or
Yeah, it was just crazy. So I was very, very thankful for that.
yeah, for sure. Oh, that worked out good then.
So,
yeah. And no problems with the travel, the flight.
No, nothing really. Just besides my
Yep.
own. It feels a little chaotic when your life is
Right.
on a bike and then it's all put into the hands of other people.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, because we've talked to people where, they flew somewhere and their bike never showed up, and
yeah,
so when you landed, did your bike come the same day, same hour? Or?
yeah, same as time as I did pretty much.
Okay,
So
well,
I
that's good
went
to know.
and walked out into the Toronto airport, not quite sure where to go, but it was right there.
Oh, good.
All my stuff just sitting there.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it all worked out great.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's good. So we'll put this together in, one of the episodes, a video, and we'll do an interview. I don't know if we'll put this on the end or at the beginning, but
that'd be pretty cool.
these mosquitoes are getting bad. I don't know. So we'll pack it in here, and this is Liam's bike.
Yeah, here it is. The guy that's taking me across Canada now, pretty much.
So this is Liam. I'm gonna let him kind of introduce himself and just gonna tell you a little bit about himself.
All right, yeah, well, I'm Liam. I've done biking similar to Josh and his dad. So I've been biking doing overnight rides and crossed Canada in 2 separate rides. So I'm kind of big into that, biking and camping and all that kind of stuff. So that's me.
Yeah, we're going to interview him and ask him a few questions about his ride.
Yeah.
So the first question I have for you, Liam, is obviously when my dad and I were riding, we're able to talk to each other and everything, but you do solo riding.
Yeah.
So, what do you do to stay entertained? Like, obviously you got to focus on the ride, but what do you do to stay entertained during that time?
Yeah, well, I get that question a little bit. I've pretty much just rode by myself most of the time.
Right.
So, I've just kind of I just find biking different places by yourself for the first time just has its own kind of feeling to it, doing it just alone, and you get to see all the different scenery and stuff.
Right.
And I find it's often, biking's fine, like you can just look at the scenery and stuff, but once you go find a spot to camp during the nighttime, that's when it's more, you're not necessarily doing anything, you just have to find stuff to do, whether you make a fire or something, so that keeps you occupied and kind of look up at the stars or watch the sunset or write stuff in a little journal or whatever, read a book. There's always, I find, something to do.
Yeah.
So whether, sometimes it's just nice to lay down, but, and with nowadays we have technology. So we can, if I do want to, I can call family or text somebody or listen to music or something like that as well. So I feel like you have to find something to do. It can be anything, otherwise it's just going to kind of be boring and whatever.
Yeah, you just got to be creative with it.
Yeah, just find, there's always something to kind of keep you occupied.
Yeah.
You just have to find it, I find.
So the next question I have is, what motivates you to ride in the winter? And the follow-up question on that would be is, what advice do you have for any people wanting to do these sorts of rides that we do?
Okay, well, for the winter one, I would say, well, when I first started riding, it was summertime, it was nice and warm, and I just kind of assumed that I would stop for the winter time or whatever. But I continued through the winter. The first couple trips were not the most enjoyable, but you make it through the first couple and you have all that experience afterhand. But what motivates me now, maybe the challenge of it. I would say the challenge of it is definitely, makes it more, it's a whole different experience going in winter.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's harder, making a fire to stay warm, or you have to bring a big sleeping bag and kind of worry about frost on your tent in the morning, so it makes it harder to pack up. And there's so many other things that you have to think about. Even just, one of the little things that I didn't even think about at one of my first winter trips, it was a water freeze, and you have to bring like big thermoses for water so it doesn't freeze in -20 or whatever. So it's just the challenge of it, I would say. So the challenge that makes it a whole different experience, more thrilling, more dangerous, or whatever. But it's just a whole different experience. People are often a little more curious about what you're up to biking in winter. So people often, I find, approach you quite a bit when you're biking in winter, which is always fun to talk to people you meet on the way and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just a challenge. Go see what the province is like in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
So, but that's for the winter one. What's the
second one is, what advice do you have for people that want to go out and do the sorts of rides that we do?
Yeah, advice. Well, I would say when I started, I just wanted to try something new, like just something that seemed crazy at the time, biking to wherever. So I just kind of planned it by myself. I would say I just try to do it by how you feel is right in a way. Like it didn't go off of what really anybody else had said. It was my own kind of idea, and I think that just made it great, seeming like doing it by all yourself, just kind of doing it your own way and whatever. So I would say advice, just kind of do it how you want. If there's one day that you don't feel like biking a lot, don't push yourself to make it seem no fun, like it's just going to be miserable or whatever. Yeah. So I'd say don't do anything like that's going to make it not, like, of course you have to bike and whatever and suffer through quite a bit, but if something's just miserable, should you really push yourself like too far? I don't know if I'm saying that in the right way, but I would say kind of like that.
Yeah, so just kind of be yourself.
yeah, kind of do it, I don't know how you want it in a way. There's so many different ways you can do it. You can go camping, you can do it, well, summer or winter, just kind of do it. And you'll learn from your experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, take it, learn from it, move on from that, and just go for it. Go for it.
So whenever I'm biking with my dad, people always ask me how the trip is, and I always say, well, it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, right?
Yeah.
So for you, what's the worst of times?
There's definitely a lot of days that are rough. I mean, you can't be in a bad mindset about it, but I mean, sometimes it's just, I don't know, miserable. I would say one of the first quite rough days, the day was, I would say, more fine, like it was just biking to Lake Manitoba and whatever. But I got to the lake, I wasn't planning it originally. It was one of my first winter rides. I decided to camp on the frozen Lake Manitoba. So I thought, oh, this would be kind of cool and whatever, enjoy.
Good idea in theory, right?
You would think, who would dream of camping on a frozen lake alone in the middle of December? So I thought it would be fun and whatever, and it was starting to get dark, and I went into the tent and gonna try to fall asleep or whatever. But that, as the kind of evening came, the wind started to pick up on the lake. So I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So the tent is just going crazy the whole night. And I couldn't sleep the whole night, not a wink of sleep. And it was, well, during the winter, so there's like not many daylight hours and stuff. So it's just dark the whole time, and the wind is going crazy. And then what happened, because I was laying down on the ice, I didn't have any tarp or anything, and the tent that I was using at the time was not fully waterproof. So because your body heat, you're laying down, it melts the top layer of the ice. So it's maybe around -10 or so. So it melts the top layer of the ice, but then like when you move or whatever, whenever you go out of the tent, it freezes. So it is freezing, can't sleep, the wind is crazy. Eventually, I make it to the end of that night, and I decide it's barely a peak of sun, so I decide to pack up and go. As I'm packing up my stuff, because it's so windy, as I will take the stuff out of the tent that's kind of weighing it down so it doesn't fly away, the tent is just going insane.
Yeah.
I let go of it for a second, it flew like 20 feet, so I had to go run and get it, and it was just insane. And that next day, I was one of the only times that I had been picked up, because I had no sleep. I was exhausted.
Oh, you would have had no motivation to ride after that.
It was brutal, just brutal. So, yeah, that was one of the worst nights camping. That first day wasn't too bad. The day that I didn't sleep and biked the next day, that was not very fun, because it was headwind and it was cold, because everything had got wet and stuff, so you're just frozen and whatever. So
Yeah.
that was that was rough. So that was one of the first pretty rough times that I had. But I mean, there's lots, but when I think back to this more recent trip that I did across kind of eastern Canada in the winter time for the start of it, there were a couple snowstorms that I had to go through. So one of those days, I just crossed back into Sault Ste. Marie, and I was excited to be all back in Canada and stuff, and I'd been through 2 snowstorms just like within the last week and a half or so.
Okay.
So like there was one that was a couple days before that, and I was finally hoping that maybe the snow would leave, finally. But I checked the forecast once I get my phone working again, coming back into Canada, and it says there is supposed to be another 10 to 15 centimeters the next day. So, oh no. So I sleep well that night and it's all good. But that next day I woke up and it was slight flurries and stuff. So, okay, let's just get going and whatever. So I got on the road. Of course, there's like not much of a shoulder at all, just leaving Sault Ste. Marie. It was divided highway, so it was okay, but there's no shoulder or anything. It's kind of a bumpy highway, so it was just a little rough biking through there. But as the day went on, it just got snowy and cold, hovering kind of right around 0-ish, so everything gets all kind of wet. It's kind of like mix rain and snow-ish. It's just everything gets wet, and the visibility isn't good. There's no shoulder, And then that day, I was biking along. As the day went on, my back tire started like just progressively becoming worse. Like it would wobble, and I would rub against the fender, pretty much acting like a brake the whole time. So I thought it was manageable. The next bike shop would have been in Sudbury, a couple 100 kilometers away. So I thought that I would try to maybe make it there. But as they went on, it just progressively gotten worse and worse. I ended up getting pulled over by the RCMP just to make sure I was okay. So that was nice of them. And at the time, I thought that I was fine. It was whatever. So he went on. But then I got to this town of Thessalon. There was a small Tim Hortons. I decided to go there. And it was nice, able to warm up and whatever a little bit. Just thought I would do that. As soon as I left that Tim Hortons, I just something flipped on the back tire, and it was pretty much impossible to ride. I rode maybe 2 kilometers outside of Thessalon to try to find a spot to camp, and it was just, impossible to ride. You couldn't get to Sudbury. So all the things going on in my mind, being in there's not a bike shop for a couple 100 kilometers. So what am I going to do? So going to bed that night, I was just thinking about I don't know anybody near here. Seemed like a crazy situation, but on that evening, I was just thinking about what is going to happen.
Right, live to tell the tale.
Yeah, live to tell the tale, and it turned out to be, the next day turned out crazy. I ended up meeting a family who helped me, and I was able to stay with them for 5 days. So it turned out amazing.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show how the worst situation of the trip can just go the next day into some of the best people you can meet and all that. So that was one of the other rough days there. But it was some of the rain that I've had. When it's right hovering around 0, it's not snow, it's just the cold, soaking wet rain. It's everything just gets drenched. You don't quite have the right rain jacket and stuff. So I was in New Brunswick, I think it was, when I had a lot of rain. It was finally getting a little bit warmer, so there was no snow anymore. So there's just all that cold rain. So I was watching the forecast, and I did see a little bit of rain coming in and whatever. I didn't think much of it because I had a rain jacket and whatever. But it started to come down that day. I forget what day it was, but it came down, and it started to come down hard and a lot. It just did not stop.
Yeah.
So I put on my rain jacket, and that's when I discovered my rain jacket was not so waterproof.
Yeah, never fun to bike in the rain.
No, not at all. So that was, that day, it was the cold rain, so it just made it miserable. And I did a short day because I just figured I would try to dry something off, but I think I got 50 millimeters of rain. As the cold rain is just miserable. So it's impossible to dry anything out. Your hands are turning different colors and all kinds of stuff. So there's that day. There's been a number of rainy days that are just miserable. So I would say that days like that, couple in Quebec that are just that, combined with bike issues. There was a day that was just crazy where I ran into a bunch of bike issues, flat tires and spokes breaking and stuff like that. Just makes it, no fun, but it's all just, you gotta deal with it. You learn from it.
It's all part of the ride.
Yeah, learn from your mistakes. Pretty much, that's what I take away from that. So the rain jacket, make sure your rain jacket's waterproof for one. With the snow, there's not much you can do with the snow besides power through it, but maybe having stuff that is waterproof enough. So if you're sleeping on a frozen lake, just don't make sure your tent's waterproof. That would have saved a lot.
Yeah.
So just learn from your mistakes, pretty much. And it's all no matter how crazy the situation seems, like that family in Thessalon, it can always just turn around. It's crazy what can happen in a day, from going from the most impossible situation to probably the best of the trip. So it's amazing.
So my next question would be what has been some of your favorite trips or highlights or days?
That would probably be one of the. I mean, people have asked me that. It's probably one of the hardest questions to answer.
Yeah, my father and I, we find that a very hard question to answer too, and that's part of the reason why I ask it.
Yeah, because everything is so different. Like days can, like one day can be this way, one day can be another way, and they can both be just amazing days. They can both be. They're just so like whole different lifetimes in a way. They're just so different, like different stretches of the trips. Like you can be going through BC, which is mountains, but then you have the tough mountain passes and stuff. You get to the prairies, it's a whole different world. You're biking. It's just everything is so different. I would say it's a hard question to answer, but I'd say one of my favorite stretches is probably some of the most remote stretches that I've been in, like northern BC up to Watson Lake. I would say going up the Cassiar Highway was pretty neat, mainly because there's not many people up there. You're pretty much just relying on all that you have for 700 kilometers that highway is. There's a couple of small towns, there's not much there, but and just the fact of you're like alone, there's maybe a car or two passes an hour at some parts. So it's just the remoteness, the wildness of being in that area. There's no lines on the highways or anything. It's just pavement going on into the mountains and stuff. So I would say that stretch was definitely one of my favorite. When you do meet people in that stretch, because people are curious about a biker going on a bike up through some of the most remote places in Canada even. So people, I find I would talk to somebody or a couple people every day on that stretch. So you're always having a conversation there. And that's another thing I should have mentioned on the previous question in terms of kind of what do you do when you're alone, you don't have people to talk to. I find that there's always somebody to talk to, even in those remote stretches. Like people are always curious people always ask where you're going, where you coming from, things like that, and sometimes the conversations just carry on and you meet great people even on the stretches like that. So that stretch was pretty good. I'd say the stretches just vary so much. Can be Quebec. Quebec's like feels like a whole different country being all French, and I don't speak any French. It's so different than if like you compare biking through Quebec, like Montreal, Quebec City, it's all French, lots of people. Get the French countryside. It's a lot different than biking through northern Lake Superior where there's not many people and you get the views of the lakes and stuff. So it varies so much. You can't quite put a finger on a best time. But out of all the trips that I have done, I would say obviously the two bigger ones I have done were probably the best in terms of, they're the longest you see the most. You go, those have taken me across the country. But before those, I would do, and still now, the smaller couple day trips. Those are always fun. Probably one of my favorites is when I went to Kenora, Ontario, just across the Ontario border. And the first day was a little bit rough just because I got 3 flat tires, but after that it was not too bad, especially camping there, kind of in the White Shell and the Canadian Shield areas. I can just start a fire and look up at the stars and just there's nobody around, so it's really just yourself, and you get to enjoy being alone a little bit and get away from normal life and stuff like that. So it's hard to pick a favorite. Everything's so different, but that's what I would say.
So what are your top 5 most important things, would you say, in your, what you pack? I want 5 for kind of just the summer, and then give me 3 for the winter.
Okay. Well, definitely for both of them, tent and sleeping bag. Even for, the summer, if it's not rainy, you don't necessarily need a tent, but for the bugs, it's good. So I would say a tent is one of the most important. Probably a sleeping bag would be almost even more important than that, just because, if there's bugs, you can just bundle up into there and just stay warm and hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
So sleeping bag, especially in winter time, do need, well, it helps a lot if you have a good sleeping bag. So sleeping bag, tent, preferably waterproof, helps quite a bit. So those are the two main things. And the winter, of course, the winter gear. The winter gear, I would say, is a big thing. Especially, from my experience, would be good winter boots. Because what I have had happen was, well, your feet get warm with the boots, they get sweaty, but then once they get sweaty, they kind of freeze. So I've had it where my boots are kind of like frozen solid for days. Just because, I don't know, I don't know if there's a workaround for that, but I mean, so good boots would be definitely one. Gloves, just to stay warm. So all your winter gear for winter, I'd say that. Another one for kind of just general would be, well, the bike tools, obviously, because if something goes wrong and you don't have any tools, you're pretty much in a pretty tough situation there. So if you have, probably the one that I use the most would either be like Allen keys, just to like adjust like the bike rack or anything. So rack might be another thing. So just to adjust little things, or if something like a brake cable snaps or something, you can just unscrew and put stuff back together and stuff. So tools are pretty
Definitely
important to have.
essential. Definitely essential.
Oh yeah. Well, you don't have to, but I would say, I mean, if something goes wrong, then you're in a tough situation. So I guess, yeah, bike rack. I mean, bike racks are nice. So my first trip I decided to use a backpack. I had a bike rack, but I did not use panniers on there. So I guess panniers would kind of be another thing. Panniers are amazing. So the first trip I put my tent and sleeping bag on the bike rack, and I put everything else into a backpack. So I had maybe like a 40 or 50 pound backpack with all the food, all the water, all the bike tools, and what. Like, it was my first trip. I was completely new to what I was doing. So it was, I mean, heavy. I would not wear that heavy of a backpacking, because your back just gets all sore and you get all stiff. And why do that when you can just put it on the bike rack on some panniers or something? So panniers, I mean, it saves you from having to carry that. Once I wasn't wearing a backpack, I just haven't really gone back, because there's just not much of a reason to. It saves me all that energy and effort. So those would definitely be panniers, rack, tools, tent, sleeping bag. All the winter gear and stuff is good, but I mean, really, whatever trip you're going on, just do it based on that. So winter, summer, with whether it's going to rain or something, it can affect what you bring. So, but I would say kind of that kind of stuff. You can bring so much more, I mean, you can just go on your bike and sleep out in the field or something. So yeah, but that's what I would say.
So the next question I have, one of the questions I'm kind of wondering, is like, what kind of electronics you bring on your trip? Because you film, obviously, and everything.
Yeah.
So
well, I film most of my trips and whatever. So, and of course I film my stuff with the GoPro most of the time. So I just have the GoPro, and that's small. I can either fit on the pocket or find a spot on the bike. My iPhone, but what takes more space is what I've more started doing now is, for charging it, bring what do they call, the portable chargers? So like kind of charging bricks or whatever, maybe that size or something.
yeah, battery bank.
Yeah, battery bank. So I've tried I've tried solar panels. I tried that last trip from Vancouver to Winnipeg. So I figured I would buy one of those, but I found with that it wasn't quite worth the extra weight for the amount it would charge, or what you have to set up camp early, hope it was sunny enough, and just a all big little thing there. So I figured it was just more worth it to buy a couple extra battery packs and whatever and charge it, and hopefully I would stop at enough places, and if I really had to, stop at a Tim Hortons and wait there for a couple hours for it to charge. So, but thankfully I was at enough, either places or people's houses, hotels, to charge it every couple weeks or wherever I was able to stay at people's houses. That's charging. Of course, I have on my big trips. It's definitely not necessary. I bring a laptop for when I stop. I can put my videos from my cameras that fill up with storage onto the laptop and whatever. That's pretty much the main reason. So I could just bring a couple more SD cards, but there's a lot of footage, so I just do that. So I do have a laptop. It's not necessary on my big trips. I would sometimes carry more of like a Canon camera just for getting a couple photos or whatever. That broke, so I don't use that anymore. Sometimes I would bring a drone with me, so that's a little bit of a bigger thing. Sometimes I would fly my drone and get a couple shots or whatever while I'm biking or after I'm set up camp or whatever. But those are the main things. So the power banks, the battery packs are kind of what I use for charging everything. Just get a couple wires and power cables and stuff. So charge everything up. But that's pretty much it. All that I can think of.
So personally, I'm not a morning person, but during our trips, we get up in the morning regardless. So, but my question would be is, do you prefer to get up earlier in the morning and bike during the morning, like early morning, or do you bike during the night, or do you like to bike during the night?
Well, I would say, as for the morning, I do normally get up a little bit early. Typically, whenever sunset is, I actually fall asleep. Some days I go to bed or set up tent a little bit earlier or whatever, but
been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but for biking in the night, that's one thing that I don't typically do, just because it does get a little bit more risky. I mean, you can only do so much, and cars barely see or aren't paying attention or whatever. So, there's been a couple times that, well, one of the most riskiest biking I would say that I've done was at nighttime in Portage La Prairie. I was biking through. It was winter, of course. It was like maybe a snowstorm. I thought that I could make it through the city before nighttime, but because the sidewalks were covered in like a foot of snow, so I had to bike on the road, which was 10 centimeters of fresh like snow within the last couple hours. So as I was maybe halfway through, it was just pitch black by the time I was leaving, and there were cars flying right by. And so nighttime biking is not, I don't typically do it. If I have to, sometimes I do, but yeah, typically avoid that. So most of the time I get up kind of around sunrise, give myself an hour, maybe two, to get packed up and just get on the road, relax a little bit in the morning, and then go for, depends on the day, but typically now just go till, I don't know, sunset or whatever. So, or unless there's a specific spot I want to make it to. So whether it's, I don't know, 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours sometimes. So that's what I do. But nighttime biking is risky. A little bit. Depends on where you are. But that's me.
So what are some projects you're currently working on now? Like, what things are you editing right now? And what are some plans that you have for future trips?
Yeah, well, the big video that I'm trying to work on now is my, East Coast bike trip, which I got back 2 weeks ago from. So I've just been kind of editing that. It takes a long time to edit and put all that footage together and whatever. So that's the big one. Hopefully I'm done it by the end of the month or so. That's kind of the big video. I'll make a video of this small trip coming out to Plumas and Brandon, kind of western Manitoba here. So I'll make that at some point, somewhat soon. But that's kind of the two that I'm going to be editing and whatever. But as for future trips, I mean, I'm always thinking of what I can do in the future. Like there's the world to see pretty much. So there's always trips that I'm thinking of, but I figure I will see my own country first, which I did. So I mean, maybe I'll get to see America at some point, go through America a little bit. I would love to do some of that. So maybe the West Coast, kind of down, I don't know, maybe Washington, Oregon, California one day, or who knows, kind of anywhere. There's so many options. So either maybe from BC to Manitoba through the northern states or something. So there's so many options. It's hard to pick one. So, but there's definitely not going to stop. So, yeah, there's lots.
So another question I have is, like, what is much harder, is the mental or the physical aspect? For my dad, I feel like, you know, we're a team. I feel like he's more the mental aspect, and I'm kind of more the physical aspect. I find the mental a lot harder. Dad finds the physical a lot harder. But like personally, what do you find harder?
I'd say harder. Well, I mean, it'd be probably mental. If you don't have the right mindset about the trip, it is gonna be miserable. Like you can be in a, I don't know, tough situation or whatever, which you're gonna get into, but if you have a good mindset about it, like it's just another thing you're gonna overcome, it's gonna be done and over with soon enough, then I mean it's not gonna seem as bad. But if you're going through that situation, you're with not a good mental state about it, it's just gonna be miserable. It's gonna feel like you're never gonna get out of it, and you're gonna, I mean, it's just gonna suck pretty much. So the physical part, it is a big part of it, but I would say the mental part is more important, I would say, because it's just you're just pedaling one more pedal.
Yeah.
And sometimes, well, if it's headwind or whatever, it's gonna be, it's headwind is not fun, but just make it to the next 5 kilometers, the next mile marker, the next whatever else, and once you can get there, you just make it to the next one. Often, probably one of the biggest things about the mindset of doing a trip, some kind of big trip like that, because it is, physically you'll get used to it, your body will get used to it.
Of course.
It's still going to be hard, like it's every day is difficult, but you'll kind of get used to it in a way. So it's just often the mental, when things go wrong, or
just try to stay positive and keep a right mindset, and just always kind of thinking just, like just one more kilometer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just stuff like that.
Just think, I mean, you can really, if you have a tent, pitch your tent. Well, technically you can, wherever, as long as you're not seen or nobody cares or whatever. So just keep on going until you can't go.
Set those goals and reach them.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you can always get there. It's always possible, but it's just a matter of how much willpower you have, pretty much. So that's what I would say. Mental is a big thing.
It's great to do this interview. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me.
So obviously we'll put a link in the description for your channel below, but just last thing I want to ask here is, like, where can people find you?
YouTube. I put my new videos on there of whatever trips I do, just put together a little bit of footage and music and sometimes talking and stuff. So
that'll be in the link in the description below, so go check it out.
Yeah, so that's kind of the main thing where it's the most kind of interesting. I do have Instagram, sometimes post a couple photos and whatever, Facebook, so it's not too hard to find me. So main thing's YouTube, so if you want to check it out, you can. If not, whatever. So, but thanks for having me. It's been great. So.
Okay, so what's your YouTube channel and what's your Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, so my
name?
YouTube channel is Liam Richter. So that's my YouTube channel. So you can search that up and maybe it'll come up. And then Instagram is Liam Richter 30. It's my last name and whatever. And then same with my Facebook. So it's all pretty much not too hard to find. Liam Richter, search that up. Should be able to find it. So that's it.